So let's talk about this for a second before we dive into that. Why is willpower, it's just a failing system? Why do weight loss programs and restriction don't work? Like you said, people are like, oh, get rid of all the bad stuff. Why does that not work?
Okay, so here's the thing. In the weight loss industry in the next few years, what you're going to see happening is that you're going to see there, it's already happening now, but it's starting to happen more and more, is that there's a negative look on discipline or willpower. And rightfully so. There's a lot of people that have used massive discipline trying to restrict their calories, trying to resist unhealthy foods, like all of this stuff that they're trying to resist and restrict and use willpower, and it's not working. Willpower or discipline, it's not that's bad. It's just that it's not being used appropriately. People are trying to use willpower or discipline with cravings, but the problem with that is that willpower and discipline come from the thinking aspect of the brain, and the cravings are housed in the sensory aspect of the brain. The cravings, the reason that we can't get rid of cravings through just willpower is because cravings don't have to do with the way you think. That's why.
That's huge. Yeah.
And you can have great thinking models. You can think very accurately. You can be very highly intelligent. You can know exactly what your problems are, and that still won't solve the problem, because just knowing it logically doesn't help an addiction that's in the sensory aspect, not the thinking aspect.
Basically like saying you're in this act of trying to lose weight, but you're not doing anything about your inner conflicts. And that's why it doesn't work. Is that
Yeah,
essentially?
well, what's happening is people's hearts and their minds are in the right place and they're really trying hard. It's just that what they're trying is never going to work. It doesn't matter how hard they try to use willpower. That's not going to be the thing. When my people, all right, when they're done with their first brain flip with cravings, most of them, they have cookies on the counter, they've got chips out, they've got like food all over the place. I have them have it visible, and we can talk about that in the first brain flip.
Mhm.
I want it to be out there where it could challenge them. My people, when they're done with their first brain flip, the rest of their family could be eating those foods. They could be visible at home, at work, it doesn't matter. They don't even notice it. They'll walk by that box of donuts in the break room and they will not even notice that it's there. Whereas before, it was like it took their whole entire energy to focus on what they needed to do to stay away from that temptation.
Well, let's dive into where those temptations come from. Where do those emotional addictions start?
Through sensory brain associations. So what I mean by that, we've all heard of like Pavlov and his experiments with dogs, right? He'd ring the bell and he'd give the dogs food, and he did that over and over again. And eventually the two got linked together. When Pavlov would ring the bell, eventually the dogs would salivate, even if there wasn't food there, just because they became connected. That's called associative conditioning, right? Or neuroassociation.
Right.
We've all experienced this. You might remember when you were in school one time, you heard a song and it made you feel sad because maybe you kissed some guy when you heard that song and you were in love and you were
Oh yeah.
going out and it was great. And then later on, after you break up, you hear that song and it makes you feel sad. You enjoyed it before, but now it makes you sad because when that relationship was flipped in the other direction, when you were together and then you were not, now that song becomes not joyful, but sadness, right?
Mhm.
So we've all linked things associatively without being aware of it. Whether we're aware of it or not, we do it all the time.